Hey, Tim Unkert here. In this video, I want to do a mega tutorial on Emacs. If you've been watching my channel lately, you may have seen me doing a C++ tutorial, and I was using C-Line and Sublime, showing you the different text editors there. And I've used some paid editors and other free editors on this channel. But one of my favorite editors, which is free, is Emacs. And I kind of wanted to get back into making a few videos with Emacs on the channel. So I thought one great way to do it would be to do a mega tutorial on Emacs, just to kind of refresh my memory on all the great things that Emacs has, and also to share it with you. Okay, so I've got a Chromebook here, and this Chromebook is freshly power washed, so it's a blank slate. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first enable Linux. And I have this pinned here, so this is my terminal. But if you don't have it pinned, you can go here and just search for settings. And I'll open up my settings. And I want to go to advanced and then developers. And from here, I have the ability to turn the Linux development environment on. I'm going to click turn on and then next. And it's going to give me the default username that kind of goes along with my account. So T Unkert, that's fine. And then the disk size that I want to allot, the recommended is 10 gigabytes, or I can do a custom. I can also change this later. I'm going to leave it at 10, and I'm going to click install. And that's going to go ahead and install Linux on my device. I'll be back in a few moments. Okay, and I'm back. And once Linux installs on your Chromebook, you'll notice that you get this terminal prompt that prompts up here. Let me just go here to my settings, and I'm going to make this slightly larger for you. So let's boost it all the way up to 20 so you can see what I'm doing, and I'll make this full screen. Now, what I like to do initially when I first set up Linux is to make sure everything's up to date. So to do that, I'm going to type sudo apt update, and then 2 ampersands for and, sudo apt grade. And I'm going to do a -y at the end here so I don't have to, because if I don't do the -y, it's going to ask me, hey, do you want to take this extra space? And then you have to say yes. So that just goes ahead and does it. Okay, that's the -y. So it's not going to ask me that. And it's going to run through and do the update, and I'll be back. Okay, now that we have Emacs installed, one thing that you might want to do, and I've pinned it previously, so it just brings it up right up on my little bar here on the bottom. And I can actually close out the settings right now. So let's close that out. So you see that, but if you don't have that, you should see it here, and you can just right click. You're seeing it's giving me the option to unpin from shelf or uninstall. But if you haven't pinned it to the shelf, it will give you the option to pin it to your shelf. I recommend doing that because it's nice and easy to start it up. One thing I want to do is make sure that we restart Linux after we've done these updates. So I'm just going to close this out. And what I'm going to do right here is right click on this terminal and just click shut down Linux. I'm going to wait a minute, or well, a few seconds really. And then I'm just going to go here to this penguin thing here and Penguin Linux. Anyways, I'm going to restart my terminal there. Okay. And that's going to restart Linux. It's going to take a moment. And I'm going to sip a coffee while I'm having that. We're doing that. Okay, so once this pops up, you know that Linux has restarted. I'm just going to close that out and close this out. And we can right click here. You want to run the Emacs GUI for the most part. Okay, and this is what you're going to get. Kind of a small screen, and you got this toolbar here on the menu and scroll right here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to fix up a few things here. And one thing I'm going to do also before I get started, because I'm particular, I'll show you another trick. I'm going to make a directory here. I'm going to go mkdir-p.local /share/fonts. And I'm just going to close this out, and I'm going to go up here and just get a font that I like, which is Cascadia Code, which is a free font that Microsoft created. And I'm going to go to the GitHub here, go to releases, download this zip here, and I'll just click show in folder here. Go to here. Now this isn't particular Emacs, but I figured I'd show you. And I'm going to highlight that and highlight down to here. Just do a copy. Go to my Linux files. Click on show hidden files. Go to that .local. Share fonts and just paste all those fonts in there. And that'll allow me to use Cascadia Code as a font in Emacs. So that's pretty cool. Let's close this out. And now what I'm going to do is just restart Emacs so it recognizes that. And we'll get the font a little bit larger for you. So we'll go to Options, go to Set Default Font. I'm going to search for Cascadia. You see there's a bunch of options coming up. So let's see. We'll go up to Cascadia, scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. Cascadia Code. There's a lot here. Cascadia Code regular. And let's really crank up the font here for the video. Let's make it 18 to start, and we'll select. And now we've got this. Whoa, this is big, okay? So what I want to do now is I want to take care of a few things with my setup. So what I can do first is do Meta X, which the Meta key on a Chromebook is the Alt key. So Alt X. And at the bottom here, you'll see that I get this option. I get my blinking cursor here. I'm going to type customize option. Okay. And then I want to start with full screen. Okay. So I'm going to do default -frame -a list and hit enter. And we'll see that we have this. I can insert something here. So I'm going to do an insert, and instead of the parameter being nil, I'm going to do full screen. And then the value is going to be maximized. Okay. I'm going to click apply and save. And I want to make sure everything is working. So what I'm going to do is now just quit Emacs with Control X, Control C. And you can just hold down the Control button, press X and C. And then I'm going to restart Emacs. And you'll see it boosts up to this full screen here. Now, I did not save the font, so the font wasn't preserved. So I want to do that. So let me go back here, and I'll go to Set Default Font. Okay, and I'll do Cascadia Code, and we'll go up, find regular. I think 18 was a little large. Let's try 16 for the video. I'll do select. Okay, so now we get this, the font, fairly decent size, I think, for the video. And what I want to do is do options and then down here, save options. Okay, so now it wrote it to this .emacs file. That's my config file for Emacs. So now I'm going to close this out and let's restart it and see if our font stays. Okay, so now we've got that bigger font. Nice. Okay, a couple other things I like to do is get rid of this toolbar here. So I'm going to do Alt X and then customize option. And then we'll do toolbar mode down here, hit enter. And I'm going to go here and toggle it to off and click apply and save. And you'll see it gets rid of that. We can keep the scroll bar and the menu bar for now, but that's, how you get this going. Okay. All right. So let's close this back out. Reopen. Okay. And I want to show you how to create a directory. So to do that, we're going to do Control XD, and this is going to bring up DIRED, which is the directory manager in Emacs. I'm going to hit enter, and we'll see we have all our dot files here. You can set this up so it doesn't show all this stuff, but for right now, I'm going to leave it. And what I can do is do the plus. So I'm going to do the key right besides the backspace, Shift and plus. So and that's going to allow me to create a directory. I'm going to create a test directory, and you'll see that we have the test directory here. I can now hit enter to go into that. And if I want to create a file, I can do Control X, Control F, and let's do a test.org file. Emacs is famous for its org mode, so we'll do that. And now we're in a new file, and I can do something like an asterisk. This is a heading in org mode, and I can just start typing. Okay. And I can save it with Control X, Control S. Okay, I just hold down the Control key and do Control X, Control S. Okay. Now, if I do Control X D, now you want to do Control X, then let up on the Control and hit D. You'll see the DIRED comes up. I'm in this test directory. Now I could just do a backspace here. Oops, actually no. I'm going to go down here, do the backspace here, and go back to my main directory. I could go back to my test directory here. Now, you'll see directory has changed on disk, type G to update DIRED. So I'm going to do G. And we'll see that we have this like temp file here, and then we have the other file. I can do N and P to move up and down. So I'll go down, and then I can get back to my file. Okay, so that's getting started with Emacs here. I haven't installed any plugins or anything. If you do want to change the theme, you can do Control X and type in customize theme. And then you have some default themes here. You can install a bunch if you really want to. But if you want to do, let's see, a slightly darker one like Mysterio, so we can do that. Okay, and then we can go up here with Control P to move up and click on Save Theme Settings. Now, if I exit out, it's going to ask me if I want to save that file. I said yes. And I can open back up, and now I have this darker default theme. For the video, I kind of like the light theme, so I'm going to go Alt X to customize themes, and I'm going to just do Control N to move down, and I'm going to uncheck Mysterioso, and I'm going to go back up here and hit enter when my cursor is on the save theme settings. Okay, so now I've got the default theme. Okay, so one of the cool sites on Emacs that I was looking at yesterday and I bookmarked was the basic GNU Emacs getting started. So I'm scrolling through my bookmarks here to get to the last one. Yeah, I have a lot. Okay, so this is the GNU Emacs guided tour, and I think that'd be a good place to start. All right, so a guided tour of Emacs. So we have this GNU Emacs manual, and this talks about the Emacs. So it's extensible, customizable, self-documenting, real-time display editor. Okay, so it goes through a couple samples. So you can edit plain text files. You can compile and run files within Emacs. So this is interesting for C or C++. You have this general debugger here, and you can do Alt X or Meta X GDB, and then it will run the debugger. Okay, that's kind of cool. And you can compare two files and highlight their differences. So Alt X E diff here. Okay. We talked about DIRED. That's pretty cool. Where we can create directories and files. Okay, another thing that I haven't really used much is the mail, but you can do, I've used the browser within inside Emacs, so you can browse the web, and you can play Tetris if you want to, which I don't know. I don't find much use for that, but that's kind of cool. All right, so it says here, you might see why people consider Emacs to be not merely a text editor, but also a complete operating system. Some users find that they can do almost all of their work from within Emacs. Now, one thing that's drawing me back to Emacs is org mode. which you can export to many different file types. I'm going to be teaching mathematics, so just creating documentation for my courses and that kind of stuff. I think org mode is a great way to go. Okay, so let's look at this why Emacs. Okay, so all the basic editing commands, and there are lots of them, are available no matter what you're trying to do. Write code, read a manual, use a shell. There are several shells within Emacs, or compose an email. All the tools Emacs provides for opening, saving, searching, and processing text and more are available to you no matter what you're doing. Okay. All right. So let's say they continue. The uniformity means that working with Emacs is often easier than learning to use a separate program, especially when that program is liable to have its own set of capabilities and shortcuts. So I guess back in the day when computers weren't as powerful. Now I'm on a Chromebook from Walmart that's like $200, and it's like, or was $200. Now it's even cheaper. I think they just keep getting faster and faster. But this was $200 maybe a year ago. Now this thing, it runs Emacs just fine. But if you're talking about a computer from the 90s or even earlier, that Emacs might have been a little slow to start up. But the thing about Emacs is you've got all this stuff from within Emacs. So even back then, you could start up Emacs and then pretty much do everything you wanted to do within Emacs. Okay. Now it just, you'll see it. It starts instantly right up. You can run it on a low-powered machine, and it's much faster than a lot of the other modern programs. And that's because, if you look at Emacs and Vim, they were both originally, VI was created around the same time Emacs was, but basically the 70s, right? So right around the time I was born. Okay, so they were created. So back, computers were far less powerful than they are today. This Chromebook that I'm running on today, even though it's a cheap Chromebook from Walmart, not that there's anything wrong with that, they are vastly more powerful than a computer from, say, the 90s or even the early 2000s. Or maybe even mid 2000s. Technology, it improves quickly. Okay, so then it continues here. Sorry, I got off on that tangent. That you can use Emacs eLisp or Emacs Lisp, which is eLisps, to customize it. So you can go into that .emacs file and really customize Emacs, create our own functions if we wanted to for Emacs to get it to work the way we want it to work. It then continues here. Emacs is also portable. Okay, so you can use it on, I'm using it on a Chromebook with Debian Linux. You can use it on Windows. You can use it on Mac, etc. Let's see. So let's go down here a little bit. And okay, so we can run a tutorial within Emacs. So we can do Control-HT. So let's try and do that. So we'll do Control-HT. And we've got our Emacs tutorial. So, okay, let's kind of go through this. So Emacs commands generally involve the control key, sometimes labeled CTRL or CTL, or the meta key, sometimes labeled edit or alt. Okay, so on my Chromebook, it's labeled alt. Rather than write that in full time, we use the following abbreviations. So C for control, M for meta or alt. Okay. To end an Emacs session, we already talked about this. You do Control-X, Control-C. To quit a partially entered command, type Control-G. So let's say I do Alt-X and then I start to type, I don't know what I'm doing. Doing. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I really don't know what I'm doing. I want to get out of here. I'm going to do Control-G. Okay. And I'm out of there. All right. So that's nice. To stop the tutorial, we can do Control-XK. So let's do that. Control-XK. And kill buffer. We're going to kill it. No. Okay. All right. So now we've gotten out of the tutorial. All right. Let's do Control-HT to get back into it. And cool. All right, so the characters, this double chevron here at the left, or double greater than, at the left margin indicate directions for which you try using a command. Okay, so they're going to have us try using a command down here. Now, a little skip ahead. If I want to go down, I can do control, just hold control and do N. There are other ways that are better that we'll get to in a minute. We can also just scroll up and down with the mouse. Okay, so we're going to type Control V, view next screen, to scroll down in the tutorial. Here we go, right to the next one. All right, so let's do Control V. All right, so we went down. Now we can do Control P to get back up. All right, so when we reach the end of the screen, we just want to do Control V. All right, it says, note there is an overlap of 2 lines when you scroll a whole screen full. This provides some continuity so that you can continue reading the text. This is the copy of the Emacs tutorial text customized slightly for you. Later on, we will instruct you to try various commands to alter this text. Don't worry if you change this text before we tell you to. That is called editing, and that's what Emacs is for. The first thing that you need to know is how to move from place to place in the text. You already know how to move forward 1 screen with Control V. To move backwards 1 screen, we're going to do Alt V. Okay, so let's try that. So let's do Alt V. Oh, wow. Moved up. Okay. All right. Another trick, we can do Alt Shift and comma for basically Alt less than symbol. Alt Shift comma, we can go to the top. Let's jump ahead a little bit. And then we could do Alt Shift period for Alt greater than and move to the bottom. Okay. Let's go back to the top. All right. We'll do Control V to go down. All right. So it says try typing Alt V and then Control V a few times. It's okay to scroll this text in other ways if you know how. So you can scroll down with Control N, scroll up with Control P, okay, or use the mouse. All right. So let's talk about the summary. So the summary, the following commands are useful for viewing screen fulls. So Control V, move forward 1 screen full. Alt V, move backward 1 screen full. Control L, clear screen and redisplay all the text, moving the text around the cursor to the center of the screen. So it's Control L is, what does that mean? That's basically Control L is centering the screen. So let's go up here. So let's go up to this top line here. I'll do Control L. It centers it where my cursor is. So that's what Control L does. So just in case, because this doesn't, I think it should just say center the text where the cursor's at. But anyways, all right. So now they want us to do this again. So we're going to find the cursor and note what text is near it. Type Control L. Okay, so we're going to center. Notice that. Find the cursor again. Notice that the same text is still near the cursor, but now it is in the center of the screen. Okay, so there I'm jumping ahead before reading. If you press Control L again, this piece of text will move to the top of the screen. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, wow. And press Control L again, it moves to the bottom. Ooh. And then we can move to the center. Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay, I actually just used it to center, but you learn something new every day. You can also use the page up and page down keys to move by screen fills if your terminal has them, but you can edit more efficiently if you use Control V or Alt V. Okay, let's go down and let's do Control L and center this. All right, cool. Moving from one, actually, let's move to the top. Moving from one screen full to screen full is useful, but how do you move to a specific place within the text on the screen? Okay, so like I talked about, previous line, you do Control P. Next line, you do Control N. And then if you want to move backward, okay, you can do Control B. And forward, you can do Control F. So let's go down here and let's do Control F. So I'm moving forward 1 character with Control F. Okay, see my cursor go. Moving from screen full to screen full. But if I want to move now back, I can do Control B. Okay, I'm going to give you a little hint. What if I do Alt F? Ooh, seems I'm moving forward each word. What about Alt B? Ooh, I'm moving backward each word. Okay, so that's a little jump ahead. All right, then it continues moving the cursor to the line in the middle of that diagram using Control N or Control P. Then type Control L to see the whole diagram centered in the screen. Okay, so we could do Control L and get it centered again. Okay, and we can do Control L to bring it back up to the top. All right, I'm going to do Control N to get down a few lines. All right. Okay, so we did that. All right. Do a few Control N's to bring the cursor down to this line. So I just did that. Now let's center it. Move into the line with Control F's and then up with Control P's. So I can do Control F, Control P to go up. See what Control P does when the cursor is in the middle of the line. So let's go to the middle of the line, like here. Okay. It should move back to the end of the previous line. This is because it moves back across a new line character. So if I go up, move into the line with Control F's and then up with Control P's. All right, so let's go to the middle line here. So middle of the line, right? Okay, yeah, it moves to the end here, okay? And then if we go up, yeah, for some reason it moved into the middle there. Anyways, but yeah, it moves to the end because of the new line character. That's what they're telling us. Try Control B at the beginning of the line. It should you move back to the previous line. Okay, so let's get to the beginning of the line, do Control B. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, Control B, Control F. I think we get it. Let's do Control L to center. Do Control N. Okay. We can do, they're also talking about Alt F, which goes forward a word, and Alt B, which goes back a word. Okay. Let's keep going down. Don't want to bore you too much with this. Okay, Control A and Control E. So Control A moves you to the beginning. Control E moves you to the end of the line. Pretty cool, right? Let's do Alt A. Alt A. Now let's actually do Control End here, and then we'll do Alt A. That moves you to the beginning of a paragraph, okay? Let's Alt E to the end. Now let's do Control A. So that's the beginning of the line, not the current line you're on, not the paragraph, okay? So Control E moves you to the end of the line, but Alt A will move you to the beginning of the paragraph, okay? So that's a little difference. Like if I did Alt A, but then Control E, I'm going to end up here. Okay, so think about that when you're moving around, how to quickly get to where you want to go, whether it's Alt A, Alt E, Control A, or Control E. Okay. All right. Okay, so repeated Control A's do nothing. So let's do Control A, Control A, Control A. Okay, but repeated Alt A's keep moving one more sentence. Let's do that. Alt A, Alt A. Oh yeah, it's beginning of the sentence, not the paragraph. Sorry. So we're moving to the beginning of the sentence. So let's do Alt E to move to the end of these sentences here. Okay, then it continues. The location of the cursor in the text is called point. To paraphrase, the cursor shows on the screen where point is located in the text. Okay. All right, so here's a summary of simple cursor moving operations, including the word and sentence moving commands. So these we've all gone through. Alt A, move to the beginning of the sentence. I misspoke and said paragraph, but sentence. Alt E, move to the end of the sentence. And then Control A and Control E are moved to the beginning and end of the line. All right, let's go down here and let's center this with Control L. Okay, they want us to try these a bunch of times. You guys can do that. All All right, so then it talks about the meta less than. The way I do this is Alt-Shift, comma, to get meta less than. We go to the beginning, okay? All right, and then we can go to the end, okay? And then the beginning, and then the end, okay? Let's go back to the beginning, and then let's scroll down a few pages here to get back to where we were. I'm doing Control V to move down these pages. All right, so here we are. Yeah, and that continues on most terminals. The less than is above the comma, so you use the Shift key to type it, and on most keys, use the Shift key to type meta less than also. Without the Shift key, you would be typing meta comma, okay? And then we can use Alt-V to move up once we move to the end. Okay, let's go down here. Okay, most Emacs commands accept a numeric argument. For most commands, this serves as a repeat count. The way you give a command a repeat count is by typing Control-U and then the digits before you type the command. Let's try that. Let's do Control-U 3, Control-P. Okay, Control-U 10, Control-P. Wow, I moved up 10 lines there. Okay. Notice I can also move around with the mouse. I just want to point that out. I can click on it here, go here, wherever I want. So you can use the mouse if you just want to. All right, so they have here Control-U 8, Control-F moves forward 8 characters. Let's try that. Control-U 8, Control-F. There we go. We went through 8. Let's go Control-U 8, Control-N. We'll move down 8 characters. So we move down here. Okay. Let's center this with Control-L. Okay. So the way you learn all this stuff is repeatedly doing it. Come back to this tutorial, check it out, write some code, write some text, try this stuff, write down some of these commands on a piece of paper. They'll get into your head. Okay. Okay, they're talking about scrolling, so still repeated commands here. You can also use the mouse to scroll. If Emacs stops responding to commands, you can stop it safely by doing Control-G. So Control-G, remember, quits. You can use Control-G to stop a command which is taking too long to execute. You can also use Control-G to discard a numeric argument or the beginning of a command that you do not want to finish. Okay, so again, it quits. All right. Okay, so they want us to try Control-U, 100, Control-G, Control-F. So I only went forward 1 character there because I quit out of it with Control-G. I'm going to do Control-L to get this back in the center of the screen. If you type escape my mistake, you can get rid of it by typing Control-G. So notice I type escape here, and I've got this commands coming down here. It's like, oh, you're going to do something? No, I want to do Control-G. Quit out of that. All right, disabled commands. So some Emacs commands are disabled so that beginning users cannot use them by accident. You type one of the disabled commands, Emacs displays a message saying what the command was and asking you whether you want to go ahead and execute the command. If you really want to try the command, type space in the answer to the question. Normally, if you do not want to execute the disabled command, you would type no. All right, so they want to do Control-X, Control-L. And do we want to do this? We're going to type no, okay? All right, let's go down here. All right, so Emacs can have several windows, each displaying its own text. We will explain later on how to use multiple windows, okay? So one window is Control-X1. So let's go through some of this. So if I want to do a window that opens to the right, I can do Control-X3. I can do Control-XO to move over to it, Control-XO to move back. I can also do Control-X2 to split the windows vertically. And then I could do Control-X1 to get them all back, just one window, okay? So yeah, you can create a bunch of different windows that way. All right. Inserting and deleting. Let's bring this up. If you want to insert text, just type the text. Okay, so cool. I'm inserting text. Now, if I want to get rid of all this text, I can do Control A to get to the start of this line, do a Control K to delete that line. Okay, so that's a little jump ahead. To delete a character immediately before the current cursor position, type delete. Okay. This is the key on the keyboard, usually labeled backspace. So let me type A, and if I do backspace, it deletes it. So that's pretty normal. Okay, that's not the one we refer to delete. So delete is the backspace. Okay. All right, when a line of text gets too big for one line on the screen, the line is continued onto the second line. Let's show you that. So this is a line that is going to be too long. So I'm going to need to wrap it around the screen by continuing to type, and then, oh, look at that. It's going to wrap. Okay. So yeah, if we're using the graphical display, you see this little arrow here. And if it's terminal, you see a slash. But again, we're going to use the graphical display. Okay, so we can use delete to get rid of it, or let's do Control A to get to the start line, Control K to delete all of it. All right, you can delete a new line character just like any other character. Okay, so if we're here and we do backspace, okay, it merges it. If we return, we get the new line character back. Okay, so that's all that's saying. Okay, so remember, most Emacs commands can be given a repeat count. This includes text characters. Repeating text characters inserts them several times. Let's try that. So I'm going to try Control U 8 star. Okay, Control U 8. Ah, cool. That's pretty neat. Yeah, that's pretty neat. I'm going to go to the start here with Control A and Control K to delete the line. Okay, so here we talk about Control K, delete the cursor from the beginning of the line. Alt D, kill the next word after the cursor. Control D, delete the next character after the cursor. Alt backspace, remember this is backspace, kill the word immediately before the cursor. So let's say I wanted to kill here. So I'm going to do Alt backspace. Alt backspace. And for me, that's not working. I can do Control XU to undo that. Okay, interesting. All right, Alt K, kill to the end of the current sentence. So Alt K, look at that. We killed to the end of the sentence. Now we can do Control XU to bring that back, to undo it. All right, let's notice that the backspace and Control D versus Alt Delete and Alt D extend the parallel started by Control F and MF. Okay. You can kill a segment of text with one uniform method. So, okay. What they're trying to do in this next, let's kill this. So we're going to do Control Space to start highlighting it. And then we'll go down and highlight it. And hopefully you can see this. And we go Control N here. And then what we can do is Control W to get rid of that. Okay. Now, if we want it back, we could do Control Y. Okay. To paste it back. Okay. So it cuts it and pastes it. So Control W cuts and Control Y paste. Now, if I want to do Control space here and start highlighting, and then do Control P and Control A to go up and highlight. And if I want to do Alt W, that'll copy it without cutting it. And if I go here, I can paste it, and now I can have the same thing here. So that's pasting. I believe you can also do Control Shift 2 and then go up, and that does the highlighting as well. And I could do an Alt W, or I could do a Control W. Let's cut it, and then Control Y to paste it. Now, my theme here is probably not showing up on the video that well, so let's just change the theme. So we're going to customize theme here. Let's go down, and I can also do N and P to get around here. Let's do Tango, see if Tango shows up a little bit better, maybe. And let's go back to the tutorial. So Control HT, Control HT. Revert it. Yes, let's revert back to the beginning, and we'll do Control V to go down. We were past there, past there. Okay, we're somewhere around here. Let's see, can we tell? Let's do a Control E. Okay, there we go. That's a lot better. All right, so now if I do an Alt W here, and then go to the end here and do paste, I can paste it in. So I've got now these two paragraphs here. Okay. Move the cursor to Y at the start of the previous paragraph. So if you want to do that, we could do Control A to move back the sentences there. All right, so this is just talking about what I did. Let's Control V down. Okay, so if we go down here a little bit, Control K kills the contents of the line, and a second Control K kills the line itself and makes all the other lines move up. Okay, so let's try that. Let's do a Control K. See, we killed it because there was no contents. Let's do a Control K, Control K. Okay, cool. And I'm just undoing it with Control XU. Okay. Keep going down here. The command for yanking is Control Y. So yanking is not like in Vim where yanking is copying. Yanking is pasting in Emacs. So let's do a Control space and do an Alt A. No, sorry, Alt E here, and we'll do Alt W to copy it. And then if I want to paste it, I yank it. I do Control Y. Okay, that's the technical Emacs term. Okay. They want you to yank. Okay, so all right, so let's say you can get back to using the MY command or Alt Y. Okay, let's try that. All right. I'm going to do Alt Y here. Previous command was not a yank. Okay, so if I want to yank, I can go here and do a yank, and then we'll do a meta Y. Okay, and then it reinserts the last killed text from the current cursor position. Okay, interesting. I don't really use the Alt Y a lot. Okay, undo. Let's talk about this. All right, so they use for their undo is the Control /. Okay, so let's go here and let's just get rid of this. So let's do a Control W, and then let's undo it with the Control /. Okay, so that also works. I do Control XU, also does it. Keep going down. Oh, here's another one. Control underscore is an alternative undo command. Okay, let's try that. Okay, and then control underscore doesn't seem to work. Okay, so that doesn't seem to work for me, but I can do this. Okay, the control forward slash. Control XU acts as a repeat count. Okay, so I could undo it multiple times with control XU. All right, let's talk about files. All right, we already talked about finding a file. We created a file with control X, F, control X, control F. Okay, we can cancel it with control G, save the file, control X, control S. And remember, you can hold down the control key when you're doing this. Okay. Buffers. Okay, so when you find another file, the other buffers stay in Emacs. So let's do control X, control B, and we'll see that we've got a scratch file here. We've got the themes file that we were going to, the tutorial we're on, this fundamental page. I think when you open up completions, disabled command. So those are our buffers. Now remember, if I want to get rid of this bottom here, my cursor's here, I can do control X1. Okay. All right, and it actually mentions that right here. Okay. We're talking about foo. I hate when people create a file named foo. Like this whole foo bar thing. All right. Anyways, everyone uses foo and bar in their examples. I can't stand it. Anyways, all right. So pet peeve. All right, control X S save some buffers. Okay. Having to switch back. So let's try that. Control X S. No files need saving. Oh well, we won't go through that. But if we did, we could save other files because you can go between buffers and have a bunch that aren't saved, and then you could save them with Control X S, not Control X Control S, just Control X S to save multiple. Okay. Okay. So Control X, we extend. Alt X, we extend some command. Okay, so Control Z exits Emacs or suspends Emacs temporarily. Don't really use that much, but you may. Keep going down, auto save. So yeah, so this, I noticed I showed you one of those files in DRED earlier. That's an autosave file. Okay, so it will save every once in a while. Okay, we have this mode line here. We see fundamental tutorials, the name of the file we're in. We're 63% through the file, line 745. So that gives us some information about it. Okay, and I see if we went right by the tutorial, it would be at 749, but I think we deleted something. All right. So that's the buffer line. Major modes, MX text mode. Okay, so yeah, major mode. So when you're creating a file, and let's go back to DRED here. Okay, and we note we're at 67%, so we're going to go there. All right, we're going to go back to DRED, and I'm going to start to type the name of this directory. So you see how I did that? I typed TE and hit tab, and it auto-completed this test directory. I'm going to go in here, and if we go to our org file, we notice that we have this thing called org. Now, org is the basically the major mode of this file. Now, if I want to go back to DRED here, Or I don't even have to do that. I can actually do Control X, Control F, and it says find file, and I'll create a file. And we'll create a file called test.c. Okay, so now we're in this C mode here. All right, so and you'll see on the menu here we have C, so we can do a up conditional, backward conditional. We can move up conditionals, that kind of thing in C. Now we could also do Control X, Control F, and do something like test.cpp for C++. And now we're in C++ mode. Okay, so, or we could do Control X, Control F, and do test.py. Now we're in Python. Okay, so we can go through these different modes here. All right, and based on the language, Emacs is going to try and help us out. So it says, can't guess the Python indent offset. We're going to use the default of 4, which is actually what I want, because Python, you typically indent 4 spaces. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the tutorial with Control HT, and let's revert it. We don't want to mess it up. And let's do Control V till we get down to about 67%. Okay, a little bit further. Okay. All right, so we're back where we went. Okay, so we can pay attention to where we are. Oh, I need to go back here through this tutorial. Okay. So major modes are called major because there's also minor modes. Just minor modifications of them are the minor modes. So, okay, so you have autofill mode for human language text. So if you have text file, it's major mode, it's the TXT. Then the autofill mode might be the minor mode. All right, so we could do Alt X and turn on a minor mode by typing auto. And if I hit tab, it gives me these possible completions. So we have autofill mode. And so now I just clicked on it. It says fundamental, and then I have my minor mode. And you might have noticed when I was in the Python file, I had Python and then eldoc was the minor mode. Okay. And then I had like C++ and something else here was the minor mode. And we hover over it, you see minor mode, major mode, minor mode, major mode, minor mode. Okay. Type Control X F with an argument of 20. Okay. All right. So, okay. And then insert a line of ASDF. All right. ASDF. Okay. Over and over again. ASDF. What are we trying to do? Insert a line of ASDF over again until you see it divide into 2 lines. Okay. So ASDF, ASDF, ASDF. I don't know. Anyways, that's supposed to be doing something. But okay, we can change the margin with the Control X F command. Control X F. Let's do 20. Fill column set to 20 was 70. All right, so we can go Control X F, set it back to 70 again. Okay. Interesting. All right. Okay, it's more about autofill mode. I can also go up and down with just the arrows as well. So you can use the arrows with inside Emacs, which I'm doing right now. Okay, so Alt Q. That's again with autofill mode. All right, searching. All right, so Control R. We're going to do an I search backward for weight. Hit enter. Oh, and there we go. We found weight. Control S for a forward search. So So I'll do an I search here. Let's search for DEL. Hit enter. Oh, there we go. So we search forward. So that's searching. Okay. Control G will terminate the search. So remember, Control G quits. Multiple windows. So move the cursor to this line, type Control L, Control L. Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, we did that already. Okay, and then I talked about Control X2, Control XO to move around. I already covered that. Control Alt V. Okay, let's do a Control X3, and then we'll do Control Alt V. And okay, and that's moving this around. So we could edit the text around here in the other frame. If you notice, I'm doing Control Alt V to move this around. And now if I want to shut this other window down, I do Control X1. Okay. Okay, so this is just, scrolling it around. All right. If you do not have a meta key, you can use the escape key instead. Most people have an alt key. Control X1, we talked about that. Oh, Control X4. All right, so we'll do Control X4, Control F, find file in other window. Let's do test directory, test.org. Okay, so now we've got our org in our window here. All right, so that was Control X4, Control F to find a file and open it in a separate window. I'm going to do Control XO to move back to this window, and then Control X1 to get rid of the window. Okay. You can also have frames. So we could do Control X5 too, and that gives me another frame here. Okay, and then Control X5 0 removes the frame. Okay, so if you want to open separate frames, recursive editing levels. Okay, so sometimes you will get into what is called a recursive editing level. This is indicated by square brackets in the mode line, surrounded by parentheses around the major mode. For example, you might see fundamental instead of fundamental. To get out of this, type escape, escape, escape. This is the all-purpose get out command. Get out. All right. Okay, so let's do Alt X. We're in the mini buffer. Then escape, escape, escape. Okay, that gets us out. All right. And we'll keep going down here. Okay, so we can get some more information, saving, escape versus the meta key. Describe a function. Okay, so you can do Control HF to describe a function if you want to. Control HV brings the documentation on variables. Control HA, command purpose. Type in a keyword and Emacs will list all the commands whose name contain the keyword. These commands can all be invoked with meta X. For some commands, command apropos will also list a sequence of one or more characters which runs the same command. Okay. Control H and then a file, hit return. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll do Control H. Let me do Control G. Control H, and then let's do test. No. Control H. And I'm trying to type the file, but it's not letting me. So, okay, so that's something we could do, I guess. Control HI. read included manuals. So we got the common options, core utils, blah, 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 finding files, gzip, Emacs fact. Okay. Let's go back to our tutorial. No. Okay. Let's go here. Conclusion. To exit Emacs, use Control-X, Control-C. All right, so this was their little tutorial. Now let's go back and go back to here. And we've got this page here. We talked about Dear Ed, talked about these basic movements. So again, this is gnu.org software/Emacs/tour. I'll include this in the description below. Again, movements, repeated movements here. Setting a mark, control space. Swap point and mark. I don't know if we saw that. But that's something you can do. Okay, region. Mark a region that contains the entire buffer. Okay, so that's something. No. So if I do Control-X-H, that highlights the entire buffer, and so I can copy it. So if you were doing like competitive coding or something, you wanted to highlight it quickly and paste it in, you do Control-X-H, and then Alt-W, and then paste it into your online editor with just Control-V, like normal. But killing text, Control-K, yanking, we talked about that. Undo, we talked about that. Incremental search, we talked about that. Search and replace, Alt %. All right, so let's actually do that. So we'll do Alt %. Query replace, let's replace edit with Tim. And now we can just hit enter, and we didn't replace anything, but we could replace it if we wanted to, but that might not be a great idea. Okay, regular expression search. Okay, we could do that. Keyboard macros. Oh, we haven't talked about that. All right, so keyboard macros. Let's go here to the start of the line. Let's do F3. How do we start a keyboard macro? Start recording macro. So defining keyboard macro. So let's do Control U3, Alt F, and then type hello. Do Control N and Control A, and then we'll end the macro with F4. And now let's do 3 macros. So let's do Control U3, F4. Okay, and we put hello, hello, hello here. Okay, so that's running macros in Emacs. So that's important actually, because I've used that quite a bit. But it's good to remind yourself. Help with commands, Control HK shows the documentation for a command associated with any particular key. Control HF shows the documentation for any particular command by name. Control HA, search for commands by keywords or regular expression. Now you notice as I'm going through some of these things, I'm like, oh, I forget how to do this or I forget how to do that. Emacs is extensive. You're not going to remember everything, but if you remember some of these things, you can, you can use Emacs quite effectively. Okay, so let's talk about this MX shell here. And I'll show you something I like to do. So let's do Control-XD. We'll go back to my test directory. I'm just going to type T, hit Tab, go back here, hit G, make sure it's updated. And notice I didn't save those files. So the test.py, the test.c, the test.c++ did not save. But let's now create a test.py. Okay. And we'll create a function that's let's call it say hello. Notice the syntax highlighting, it's very nice. And then we're just going to print hello here, and we'll go down and we'll return, or actually we'll call the say hello function. I can autocomplete this with alt /. And so I'm calling the say hello function, very simple Python program. I'm going to do Control X S or Control X, Control S to save it. And you'll notice it says it wrote this file. I'm going to do Control X3 to open up another window here. And then Control XO, whoops, no, that's not what I want to do. Control X3 to open up a window, then Control XO to move over. And I'm going to do Alt X. And instead of shell, I'm going to type in term. And it gives me the option to run a bash terminal. So I'm going to do that. So I can open a bash terminal here, and I can type Python 3 and then the name of the file, test, and I'll start to type it and hit tab to autocomplete. And then if I run it, it runs the file in the terminal on the other side. Now I can just do Control D to quit out of that. I'll move the mouse over here and just Control X1 to get rid of it. Okay, so that's how you can run programs in Emacs. But you can do a bunch of different shells. You can do E shell. You can do a bunch of different things. So GDB, if you have GDB installed, so to install that, I'm not going to install it right now. Let me actually close the settings here. But if I wanted to install stuff for C programming, I could type sudo apt install build-essential, do a space, and then do GDB. So if I had that stuff installed, and again, I'm not going to do this right now, but if I had it installed, I could invoke the GDB, the general debugger in the buffer. You can use grep. Okay, so grep kind of searches through a bunch of stuff. So let me change into my test directory here, show you in the command line. Let's do grep-r for recursive. We'll search for test. And it didn't come up with anything. Grep test, maybe. Anyway, so you can search through stuff. That's not quite working the way I thought. Emacs man displays man pages, so manual pages, evoking shells, shell command on a region, or alt, either exclamation or alt. This pipe here would be a shell command on a region. You can do version control with, so Emacs supports CVS subversion, bizarre git, and other systems. So you can do version control. This is just an intro to this mega tutorial. So I'm just kind of running through this. It's just kind of like, I'm just going to turn on and start recording here. We're on a server. Okay. Being unproductive with Emacs. So we could do Tetris. Emacs psychotherapist. Let's check that out. So what do I have to do? I have to do doctor. So Alt X doctor. I am the psychotherapist. Please describe your problems each time you're finished. Type return twice. I fiddle with Emacs too much and make bad YouTube videos. Enter. Ha! I would appreciate if you would continue. Let me try. I make bad YouTube videos. Why do you say you make bad YouTube videos? Let's see. I basically just turn on the camera and record. Sometimes I don't even include a thumbnail. Okay, return. What makes you believe that? Okay, so anyways, it's going back. Can I Control G out of this? Let me get out of here. Let me go back to my test directory, go back to a different file. Let's do Control XB. No, not switch to buffer. I want to do Control X, Control B. Okay, Control X, Control B. This lists my buffers. And you'll see I have Doctor open. Okay, so I have these buffers open. And I have this test.c++, but I haven't saved these. Okay, so anyways, I'll do Control X1 to get out of there. Go back to here. Okay, repeated commands, major modes. We talked all about those. Minor modes, we talked about those. And the mini buffer, yeah. So the mini buffer, just as a reminder, if I do Alt X, now I'm in the mini buffer and I can run commands. I can do escape, escape, escape to get out of there, or just Control G as well. Tips for beginners, panic, no, just Control G. Quits out a lot of stuff. I'm not going to talk about the terminal setup. And then we talk about migration. So again, this is just the start of this mega tutorial that I'm going to do. So Emacs for VI Vim users. So Viper mode. I'm going to talk about evil mode, which is something you install. Let's see if Viper mode is installed. So Alt X, Viper mode. Okay. Okay, so Viper emulates VI. Excuse me. It supports all of what is good in VI and X while extending and improving on much of it. Okay. Inhibit Viper startup message. Yes. Okay. So now am I in? Okay. So let's go here. Oh, specify your level. Let's do 1. Okay. No, I don't want it permanent, but okay. So let's hit enter. Okay, so now I'm going J, K, L, and H. So I'm in Viper mode. So, and then, I can insert. This is inserting. So, okay, so maybe you just want to use Viper mode and, not do the master level, but you can do escape. So, okay, cool. Woo. I've got Vim inside of Emacs. Sweet. With Viper mode. There's also evil mode, but that's something you need to install. Anyways, so I hope this was a good start. I kind of went around and bounced around some of the resources. I'll include these resources in the description for this video. I hope you found this interesting. We're going to continue with Emacs. I've done some longer tutorials on it. I'm going to put some new stuff where we cover some of the new things with Emacs. If you like this video, please give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing, as it really does help the channel grow. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you